Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us on Daybreak Extra. Now we're going to have a very intellectual conversation. I'm really so eager for this conversation. We're going to talk about digital learning. So digital learning for children in rural communities and areas is a powerful tool to bridge the educational gap between urban and rural development and environment, of course. So by providing access to technology and online resources, children in remote locations can receive quality education, learn at their own pace, and explore a wide range of subjects. This approach helps overcome barriers such as teacher shortages and limited access to books, empowering rural children with the skills and knowledge necessary to thrive in digital world. So we have in the studio, of course, someone to do justice to this conversation. She is Andikan Umoh. She is a barrister, a lawyer, of course, and also a founder and executive director of Rural Education and Digital Initiative. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank
you
for
know
having me.
When I hear founder and ED, I'm always assuming someone older. But then it's good. Yeah, it's
to be
good
a lawyer
that
as
we
well.
have, someone young. We call them youth, and then we're striving to also make a change in our own economy, in our country. It's really good. Honestly, I have to give you your flowers.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about the current digital learning in rural communities in Nigeria. Based on what you have, your journey in this field, what would you say you have discovered in this?
Oh, what I've discovered. So I've discovered that there's a lot of gap. Where we are in Nigeria, there's a huge gap. So first of all, digital learning is essentially learning facilitated by technology. And so when you think about the use of technology in Nigeria currently, we are at a very low rate. That's basically the digital divide. So when we talk about digital divide, we talk about it in three ways. The use, so people, do they know how to use this technology? Can they use the technology? When they're using it, can they use it to better their lives? So it's one thing to know how to use your phone, but it's another thing to know how to use your phone to be able to discover job opportunities. You use your phone to be able to learn new things.
Yeah.
You use your phone to explore, because you can literally be on your phone and then you feel like you're transported to a different country. You've never traveled to that country before, but that's exposure that technology can give you. We also talk about access. How many people have access to this technology? We have our phones on hand, but a lot of people don't have access to phones, especially in these rural communities. Yes, they may have their Nokia touchlights, the phones without the internet.
And then the
exactly,
small phones,
right? They can have the small phones, but they don't have access to phones that they they have internet on the phones. Also, we talk about internet. So they have the phones, they may not have the access to internet. So when we talk about these things, there are levels to it, right? And we look at Nigeria, for instance, where I think there are certain communities you go and there's no network, right? No network at all. There may be a mask, you may see MTN there, but there's no service. So you think, okay, how can these people access the internet? So that's actually a problem in itself. And then the schools, a lot of schools, they don't even have the devices. So we're teaching children computers, but we don't have computers to teach them. We have people learning computers theoretically. So how are we preparing these children for the jobs of the future? So they'll finish learning computer from school, and then they'll go to the job market and they can't even turn on a system.
So how do you manage the connectivity issue you just raised? Because you can see mass and then there's no network, there's no internet for them to access. So you do go out there to the field to teach these children in the rural areas, which I've seen some pictures that you shared. So how do you get the connectivity to show them the things that you want to show? You just go with it in your hard drive and just show them. So how do you do that?
Okay, so two ways. One thing we do, we're also looking at offline learning. So we look at how we can teach these children offline. These are things that we can download where there is network, and then we go to those communities and then we use them. Sometimes what we do is, especially with the offline, if we're teaching them digital literacy, for instance, now we're teaching them how to use maybe their Microsoft Word. We don't need internet for that. So they can easily learn how to type. But when it comes to browsing, there are certain internets we can use. So what we do is we try to position ourselves in areas that you can get internet, but a lot of times it's not possible. So we find other means to go about it. Either you teach them theoretically, and then you probably go out to another area. So you take them out to an area where you can access internet, and then you show them what to do. But it's problematic.
Indeed,
I can imagine how, definitely.
Because,
I mean, I can just imagine. You can see, you know, that's her showing them, and you know, willingly they come out too.
It is problematic, honestly, the way you just painted it. Because I remember I just asked her, you know, how is it like, and she dived into the challenges, and the challenges seem to be a lot.
Broad, yeah.
You know, a lot, and as much as we know you're doing your own part, but there's so much you can do,
yes,
right?
Definitely.
But then let's talk about the importance of this. What does digital learning, you know, help when it comes to education in rural areas? How would you say the outcome has been?
Okay, so the importance of digital learning in education is enormous. One, it improves the outcome of learning. So, you know, we have people who they cannot learn in the traditional classroom, or we need them to they need assisted learning. So what technology does is it helps to facilitate that process. So if you find someone that, you know, is a bit, let me just say, has a disability, right? We can navigate, we can use technologies that can help them. So that way, what you're teaching them traditionally, we see, oh, why is it they're not learning fast? But then we don't understand that this child has complexities that technology can help with. I mean, also humans can help, but technology it helps. You know how technology just comes and then makes everything faster for us.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that technology does. Also, when you look at our curriculums in school, it's packed. These children don't have the time, especially during school hours. So what technology does is, or digital learning does is, when they go back home, they can easily go on YouTube or look for other educational resources and catch up on, right? Some of these other students, let's not even talk about out of school children. Some of them don't even have access to a classroom, especially students on move. That's we have IDP, people that are internally displaced. Technology can help them with that. They can easily just go on an app and they can learn. But when they don't even have this access, how can they learn?
I mean, you mentioning IDP, you know, you just said you're going to one IDP, and I was asking you what you were going there to do. So tell us what you were going out there to do, because I mean, we see you going to communities to see how you can actually, you know, mentor these children to learn the digital learning techniques. So what will you be doing today as well?
Okay, so one of the things I do is I introduce these children to a world that they've never known. You would not believe that there are certain children who don't even know of Ghana as a country. The only country they know is Nigeria. I remember the teacher just saying to me, oh, at least they know the emir. And I understood where he was coming from, because again, these children are not exposed because they're in the rural communities. And when I mean rural communities, rural communities,
really rural
exactly.
Communities.
So what I try to do is I try to show them a world that they don't know even exists. So aside from the lawyer, engineering, any other course, you know, that's popular, we also show them a lot of other courses that they may not know about, and that includes tech. You know, okay, you know, there's something called coding. You can learn how to code. You can even build these products yourself. Aside from using it, you can build this, and a lot of them are very fascinated by that. Wow, so I can build an app. I'm like, yes, you can. And you know, we introduce them to a lot more other careers that they can go through. So that way we are building skills. So by the time we introduce them, we always ask them, okay, so which of these career paths would you like to take? And some of them will just be like, oh no, I just want to do marketing. But now we understand. So from that, when they say marketing, we think about social media
marketing.
Exactly. Yeah. We see how we can navigate. So because of course at the end of the day, not everyone would be a coach. Exactly. Not everyone will be a software developer. Not everyone will have the core tech skills. But at least we introduce them to a new world, and that's exactly what we're going to go and do today. I'm going to be talking about STEM,
skills.
Exactly, STEM and tech skills that they can also acquire aside from the traditional career that everybody knows and is popular.
Yeah, I mean, talking about you know, making a better future for these young people. We saw, just like one of the things you mentioned earlier, about how people struggle. We saw how most of the time, even people graduating from secondary school cannot really speak well. I mean, communicate well. They cannot. They don't know what is happening even in Nigeria, which takes us I don't know. It's not a step back. It's a whole journey back, a whole drive back.
Way back.
And most times in every sector, we try to tell ourselves that, you know, there's a gap. But
knowledge
education,
Yes.
the gaps seem to get more broader and wider.
Yes.
So how can we help? You know, I'm talking about as a Nigerian, as an individual, as government, as an institution. How can we help in filling this gap on all of these challenges that you made mention on rural digital learning?
I think one way we can help is to lend our voice. when it comes to Nigeria as a whole, we don't have a problem with our policies. We have a problem with implementation. So with all these things we're talking about, there are policies in place. In fact, there's even a digital literacy framework where a curriculum is being created currently, and we're hoping that that curriculum is going to be released before the end of the year. So all these things are happening. We need to lend our voice to create awareness, to let people know that, okay, these policies are existing, and also how can we better help the government better implement these policies. And of course, it comes back to individuals too, like what I'm doing, for instance, going to communities to teach these children. And the thing is, we can't, no matter how much you give somebody money, if you don't empower them with skills that they can use to make money for themselves, you may not really be helping these people. So it's one way to just come together, volunteer your skills and teach them.
So what captures my attention right now is, how you get to pick these communities, talking about the communities, how do you get to target these communities? Do you do research? Did someone tell you about them? Or you just, wake up and you just decide to go to a particular community and say, okay, let me just go and see what's happening there? How do you target the communities that you go to actually, teach these children? And how voluntarily are they coming out? Do you have to persuade them with, certain things to come? Because I see refreshments at the end of, the learning and everything. So is that what's bringing them out, or they just come out voluntarily, they want because they want to learn?
Okay, so to answer the first question, they want to learn. So these kids are very passionate about learning, and computer also fascinates them, amazes them, right? So they love to just come and just tap away and just learn. So that's one thing that brings them out, the fact that they're going to learn. I remember when we're taking a training on researching and how to browse the internet. They were so excited about googling the biggest chicken in the world. And you think about these things, right? It's very mundane to us, but then you are building their inquisition. So for them, they are learning, they are curious to learn, right? And then of course it goes further than that, to be googling other things, right? So for them to even discover Google now and try to learn with Google, it excites them. And even typing. So we have competitions, we do typing competitions. So during the typing sessions, I remember we took it for a couple of weeks, because of course you can't do it in one day. They were always excited, and they were racing each other. We put a timer, we set a timer, and then they finish typing at a certain time, and they'll be so excited. I'm like, yes, I finished at this time. For them, that's enough, right? But then they are picking up this skill, they are learning. And so just remind me of your first question again.
The target, how do you get to target the communities that you go to?
Okay, it's very easy to find them because these communities are very close to us. Some is just behind my house. The first community I went was just behind my house. How I discovered this community, I actually went for a project. Because before I got into digital learning and digital technologies, I've actually been working in the NGO space. So we go to a lot of rural communities. So I went to one of the community, and
what you saw?
Yes, what I saw, in fact, is just making me speechless now. And I thought to myself, how can I help these people? Right? How can I help us? We're in a digital age, we're in a digital world.
And they're left behind.
And they're left behind, exactly. Even ask them, how do you hear about news? During the political
radio,
season,
I'm sure.
How do you hear? Yes, radio or word of mouth. So you can imagine how the news has traveled to them for word of mouth. They
without
probably
them
hear
even
it.
knowing the real
fake one.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's another problem.
News,
Exactly. So I thought to myself, okay, how can we bring this to them? And that's how I actually started, and that's how I picked my communities too. But with that, it quickly just multiplied word of mouth. I'm like, my friend is in this community. They also don't have. And what happens is some children go to a particular school, but the children in the schools are coming from different communities. So it's not like the only children in that school.
It's just the children in the community.
Exactly. So what happens is they tell you about their friend in another community. They tell you about how, or maybe their friend from another community comes, and they be like, I didn't see. Because another thing is they tell their friends, and then the next day they're coming with more people. So at first I start with maybe 10 students on my register, because I'm like, okay, I want to just manage a class. I start with 10 people on my register, and then the next day I'm coming, it's 20, it's 30. I'm like, okay, I think we need to just manage the number. Exactly. So what we do is now try to divide it in divide the sessions.
Groups,
yes, exactly. Divide them into groups. Yes. So they bring their friends, and from them I ask them, okay, because when they come, I also do a needs assessment to know where are you with your digital skills. And a lot of them have not even seen a computer. I mean, a student was just telling me that, in their school, they just go during their computer lessons, they just go to the lab and then they watch their teacher do the practical for them. So they don't literally
they
practice.
can't touch,
Exactly. Auntie, I really want to learn. I'm like, okay, I have it now. I have a new place to go, right? And then you
indeed. Now earlier you talked about curriculum. Based on the gap that we have, I don't know how extensive or how detailed that curriculum that perhaps you feel the government is going to change anytime sooner, but how do we integrate digital learning in our existing, educational sector, especially in the rural areas? Because even in the urban, we still have schools that don't have technology.
Access to technology.
Yeah, they teach them literally. It's just theory, not practical. So how can we integrate it from the rural also to the urban?
Before I go ahead to answer that question, we have another problem, which is security challenge. Because I know some government schools had devices, and then due to one thing or another, the systems are no longer existing, right? So one way we can integrate it is what we do now is in our digital literacy curriculum, we put games where people can learn how to calculate maths using these apps. Maths bingo, playing different games with it. That's one way we can integrate this digital learning into our curriculum. So we make it fun for them. Also including practical. Again, when we're talking about this, we have a problem of implementation, right? But in hope, right? So we're saying this all in hope that we can provide more devices to these people and then they can actually practice. For instance, you can learn English with an app, and you can learn English with someone speaking to you. So you just listen to a voice.
Yeah, just speak words.
Yes, exactly. So that way you can now improve their English skills, or they even learn how to type. That way it also improves their writing skills, because that skills translates. That way we can have people who graduate and they can communicate, because that's one of the skills we need when we're looking for jobs, right? When recruiters are looking for jobs.
Yeah. So, but I was thinking of the supports that you tend to get from the communities and the parents of these children. How is that for you? Like, are they also saying, oh, can my children join? And then the supports that you get from the community people, how is that?
The support is very amazing. So when I go to the communities and I meet the community leaders, they're always like, yes. In fact, I went to one community and the community leader said to me, yes, there's a container, because it was like a makeshift place. There's a container, you can bring your equipment there. And I'm like, okay, I'm just taking it easy. They are very receptive because they understand the importance of
what you are bringing.
Exactly. So aside from in education, digital technology cuts across many other areas and it's beneficial in many other areas. So they may not just look at it from the points of, okay, my child is learning, but they also look at it from skills, the economic side of it, how this can better their lives in the end. So it's been very
interesting. All right, I just have one more question for you. What do you think is the long-term implications of this, and how can we measure the impact when it comes to digital learning in rural communities?
And also to add to that, the feedbacks you get from what you've been teaching them so far, what is it like? How is the outcome?
Okay, so in terms of long-term impact, Nigeria's population is growing every day. So I think we've been projected to be one of the third largest population by 2100. But there's some statistics to that. What that means is our markets would be ready. Our population will be ready for the global markets. Currently, people in Nigeria cannot even recruit a lot of Nigerians because they say they don't have the skills that we need. But what digital learning would help us to do, one, it would widen our scope. What we can learn about emerging technologies. Some people don't even know about AI. We're talking about AI sitting here, and then there's some people in the community that don't even know what Google is, right? So what it does is it brings them up to speed. They can apply for jobs in the global markets, and of course that also improves our economic situation. So you see how there is a snowball effect with digital learning. And in terms of outcome, I think that's what you asked.
Yeah, the feedback so far from what you've done with the children in the communities.
Yes, so the feedback, the outcome is it also translates to their education. So because we're using games, we're using digital apps, technology to help these children, you see that their maths become better. They can count better now, right? They can also read better because you're reading to them. And so you're not just reading with a physical book as well. You're reading to them with something they've not seen. So they're very interested in this. They're very willing to learn. So the outcome has been very good, and it's translated to their education. So we actually have several programs. So aside from education, there's even arts and culture where they can learn about different cultures, they can learn about different arts, they can learn about languages.
Paintings and what have you.
Exactly, right? Actually, there's one of my students who wants to be a painter, and I was just showing him, and we're exploring different things, even NFT, and he was so excited about NFT, right? So yes, it just the outcome is really good.
Wow.
Indeed. You're
I mean,
doing
you're
a
just
very
doing lovely,
exciting
and I'm just so
fulfilling
excited. It's very,
job.
like,
You're
yes.
doing good. I wish I could give you an award because no, we seriously
you know,
do.
voluntarily,
These
like,
are
you
things
know,
that we
taking
need
up,
to do. You know, giving back to our society and our communities, and these are things we keep pushing for. Saying if we want change, then even you can start by giving your own quota to
Yeah.
your
Yes.
society. So we appreciate you, Andikan and Umoh, on behalf of all Nigerians for what you
for
do.
what
Thank
you're
you
doing.
so
Thank
much.
you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Now, that was Andikan Umoh. She is a lawyer and founder and ED of Rural Education and Digital Initiative. We hope Nigerians will get to deep dive into, you know, the importance of digital learning in our country. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we will dive into what is trending on the social media platform. So stay with us.